Hello there everybody, Sam's Trains here and welcome back to the railway and welcome back to yet another unboxing of a train set. Now all the time I've had comments and messages about Thomas and do I have a Thomas and will I review him? And the answer to that was always I don't have one, no, so I can't review one, but maybe one day. And just recently I was browsing on the internet, as you do, and I came across this, which I believe is a pretty new train set from Hornby, I think this year. And they were selling it for just £59.99 or something like that. So I thought that was a pretty good price. And then I thought, you know, because that's something that everybody seems to want to see, I thought I would buy one and review it for you. So, yep, that's what we're going to do today. So hopefully those Thomas fans out there will be pleased with me for doing this. But yeah, let's take a quick look at the box then. And of course this is the Hornby version, as you can see. And on the front here you've got a very happy looking Thomas pulling his coaches, Annie and Clarabel. And it just says here, Thomas the Tank Engine 00 gauge electric train set, and it's complete and ready to run and all that stuff. Before we get it open, I thought I would just show you the back of the box because there's some quite interesting info on there which shows you what you've got. First of all, you've got this little sort of itinerary, and it shows you the loco and the rolling stock and the track and all that sort of stuff. And there's also this little crafty advertisement which shows you all the other you know, models in the Thomas range that Hornby do. And I suppose that's quite useful if you wanted to collect them all. And there's also a handy little diagram here which shows you how to put the track together, just in case you're new to it and you don't know how to do it. So clearly a lot of thought's been put into this. But yeah, let's get this open and see what we've got inside. Now this has never been opened before, so it's a surprise for me as well. But yeah, I think this is a good thing of Hornby to do. And of course, the other Thomas manufacturer is also Bachmann, so if you've got one or both and you have an opinion, which is better? Do Hornby make the better Thomas or do Bachmann? You can let me know up there by answering the poll. Now, okay, the first thing we've got here is this owner's manual, it would seem. So let's have a quick look at this, although we won't spend long on it. Alright, so what have we got here? Whoa, loads of stuff. Okay, first up then, we have the Hornby service warranty, and it looks like it's just like a warning thing. Tells you how to get started with a train set, all that sort of thing. We won't worry about that sort of thing too much. You've got the warranty, very useful I'm sure. And you've also got the servicing sheet, which shows you how to look after Thomas and where to oil him and whatnot, and that's true for all 060 locomotives, so that's quite useful. And then the owner's manual, again, I assume that's just showing you how to get started, basics of putting track together, oiling, and other things you can buy which make the railway better or whatnot if you wanted to grow it. So yeah, that's all the paperwork out the way. We won't spend long on that, obviously. Right, let's see what we've got in here. First of all, let's take a look at the track. Now this is third radius, which is very useful track, and it basically means you can run any modern locomotive, or most locomotives, full stop with this track, so it's very useful. But I do notice you haven't got any points or anything, which may mean that the set gets a little boring quickly, I'm not too sure. But obviously a point isn't too expensive, but you know, maybe it would have been more interesting to include one so that you could do some shunting. But yeah, there's the straight and the power track, and the power track's always very useful. It's a bit of a cheapo one, but it seems it probably do the job. Next up we have, in here we've got a couple of vacuum pipes as well, which you could fit onto Thomas if you wanted to, and that's probably a little fun job to do if you wanted to do that. Let's take a quick look at the controller. Now a lot of people poo-poo these controllers and they say, oh, they're rubbish, but really, you know, they are cheap, of course they're cheap. But I think they're really, really very good at slow speed performance. You can really get your locos to crawl along, and also they've got a good range of speed. You know, you can do a lot with them. You can't run a terrible amount of locos with them, maybe 2 or 3 at the most, but for the most part they're very functional and they do the job. And you've also got the transformer there, but I won't get that out because you know, it's just a generic transformer there, probably just a 1 amp one. Alright, let's have a look at Thomas then. Now this has never been out before, so I'm hoping it's not going to be too tricky to get out, but no, it seems to come out nicely. And yes, that is undeniably Thomas, isn't it? And it's certainly in that lovely blue livery, and I don't know really how accurate that is, you know, because I don't tend to watch Thomas a lot these days, but to me that seems pretty generic Thomas. It looks pretty good to me, and I'm sure it will run very nicely. We'll get it running very shortly, of course. Let's take a look at his 2 passenger wagons then, Annie and Clarabel. Which one's this? This one's Clarabel, it looks like. Let's try and squeeze her out. And it's quite nicely designed, this packaging. You can get a good hold on these, and yet it looks to me, seems to me like that's a pretty detailed little wagon, a little Clarabel there with metal wheels. That's a really nice touch. And yeah, she seems pretty happy, if you ask me. Not that I'm an expert. Right, let's have a look at what I presume is Annie then. Here she is. There we go. And it's basically the same thing, I would say, just with Annie on the side, of course, with a slightly different facial expression there. Looks very surprised, that one. And yeah, we've got metal wheels again, which is great. You know, that's a sign of quality. It's not a terribly cheapo set. So yeah, I think that's pretty nice. What we'll do then is I'll put Thomas up onto the white background very briefly, just so that you can see his detail, and then we'll get him onto the railway. I probably won't set this track up, I'll probably just get him to run on the main layout because it's probably a bit more interesting. But you sure could run him on this track, of course you could. And it's basically this track that, you know, that's out on the carpet anyway, so yep, that's fine. But yeah, let's take a quick closer look at Thomas then. Let's do it. Okay, so there's Thomas looking very cool against the white background there. And it's fairly well accepted that Thomas is actually based on this loco, which is an E2 locomotive, I believe. Let me just zoom out slightly so I can fit those two in. But it's clear to see that Hornby haven't used the same moulding for Thomas. As you can see, his water tanks here are quite a lot longer than that of the E2. But they're definitely comparable, as you can see. So I thought that would be a nice thing to compare now that I've got a Thomas model. But yeah, let's take a quick look at Thomas's detail then, and the various different points to look at. First of all, as you can see, he's done in the lovely Thomas livery, which has got the quite accurate red stripes over the top of the boiler there. And of course the traditional number 1 on the side of him there has been nicely applied. And if we take a look at his face, as you can see, I'm not too sure about how accurate that is, but it certainly looks pretty happy, and it looks good to me. But yeah, you guys will have to let me know how accurate that is. But other than that, it is a fairly simple model. You know, you haven't got any sprung buffers or anything like that. But again, that's probably done to make it a little bit more robust, so that it isn't going to break too easily, you know, with the kids and whatnot. But in places there are some nice details, like in the cab, for example. You've got a little bit of cab detail in there, which is nice. I'm not sure if you could fit any crew in there. That would probably be a little bit tricky, but it depends if you can get the body off easily or not. But yeah, that's pretty cool. And in front of the cab there, just next to those circular windows, you have got the little brass safety valves, which are nice separately fitted pieces, of course. Which make the model a little bit more detailed. And round the back you've got this sort of coal bunker with the sort of grill effect on it, which is very nice. And also those yellow circular windows have also got a nice grill effect on there as well. And on the back of the coal bunker there you can see there's some little lamp irons which have been moulded onto there. So a fair bit of detail there, and I think Thomas is certainly a nice smart little model. And of course he is pretty simple, but that's exactly what you want in a kiddie's set. So let's take a quick look at Annie and Clarabel then, his coaches, and we'll see how they fare. And there's Annie and Clarabel then. They do seem to be pretty much identical, but you can probably tell they seem to be loosely based around the sort of Eleni Artique coaches, and the little four-wheeled ones, of course, because they've got that sort of tiki colour to them. But generally they're quite nicely detailed. You know, you have got the glazed windows, which is nice, and you've also got the moulded first and third class signs on the doors and such. And also the names, you know, Annie and Clarabel seem to be quite nicely applied, so it does seem as though the models are of pretty good quality. And let's have a closer look at the face then. As you can see, this is Clarabel with her nice smiley face. And again, it's quite nicely applied, and it certainly looks pretty entertaining, doesn't it, for the kids. So yeah, I think they're pretty good. They seem to be fairly robust and quite nicely detailed as well. So let's couple those up to Thomas on the train tracks then, and let's see how it all runs together. Okay, so Annie and Clarabel are on the lines, ready to go, and I'll just add Thomas to the lines there, but I won't couple him up to them yet, because I'll let him drive up to them and pick them up in just a second. Now I'm using this to control them. This is the Hornby HM2000, and it basically does the same thing as this, except it's just got a little bit more grunt to it, and of course it's got the two controls instead of just the one. But the great thing about these power tracks is I can just unplug the current controller, and then if I take this, just this connector, I can shove it straight in there if I wanted to. But no, I will be using this one today, but as I say, you can use this, it's just as good. But yeah, let's give Thomas a little try then and see how he gets on. Okay, let's give him a little bit of power on the controller then and see how he runs. This is his first ever time running, so we'll see how he gets on. A little bit of juice, there we go, just a nudge, there we go. A little bit noisy to start with, but I'm sure he'll be better once he gets running. But as you can see, he works. So let's couple up to Annie and Clarabel then. Nice and steadily does it. There we go. I hope he's got them. And yeah, let's give him a little bit of a run round and see how he gets on. So here we go. And as you can see, he's very happy running with those coaches. And I should also point out he doesn't have a rubber traction tyre, which means he's running purely on the on the traction of the locomotive, which is great as well because it's something you don't have to maintain. And he did stop for a little second there on the points, but you'll notice the first time he runs, he might be a little bit rough, but certainly as you run him more, he will certainly improve. So yeah, we'll see if that happens today. But for the most part, he does seem to be a good little runner. Seems to be pretty smooth. And he's not terribly noisy now as well. You know, he's just been running a couple of minutes now, I'd say. But, you know, he's really getting a lot more quiet than he was when he first started. Okay, so now my ratings for Thomas then. First of all, detail 7 out of 10. So slightly above average there. But of course it is going to be simple because it is for kids. So not bad there. Performance 8 out of 10. Of course, Thomas has no trouble at all in pulling Annie and Clarabel. And he doesn't run a traction tie, which is excellent. And he's not too noisy, he's pretty smooth and quiet, which is just what you want. So yeah, 8 out of 10 there. Character, 10 out of 10. Now, you guys will have to be the judge of this to some extent, because you guys will know just how much this looks like the real Thomas from TV. But to me, it looks like he's got plenty of character, and Annie and Clarabel do as well, so I've given it 10 out of 10 there. Build quality again is pretty high, there's no really small parts that can break off, and it seems to be put together pretty nicely, so 9 out of 10 there. Again, value 9 out of 10 too. It really is pretty good value. Less than £60. It can't be bad for an 060 loco and a couple of wagons and the controller and the track and all that. So yeah, pretty good value, which leaves us overall 8 out of 10. If you're just starting out really with the hobby, or if you just like Thomas, I think it's a really good set to go with, and it's not going to set you back a long way in terms of the cost. So yeah, I think I can pretty much recommend this one. Pretty good. Okay, so while Thomas has one last go round, I thought I would also run the E2, which is very similar to Thomas, of course. It's like his alter ego, if you like. So I'll just give her a little bit of power then, and we'll see her run. And as you can see, she's got a few stone wagons just hooked up to her, as well as a little brake van on the end there. So for one last run then, let's just watch those go together. There's the E2, and there's Thomas, who looks a lot more entertaining, I suppose. Yep, all running very nice and smoothly now. Thomas has been running for 20 minutes or so now, and he's certainly a lot smoother, just like this E2 is, after she's done a lot of running as well. Well, that should just about do it then, everybody. That's the latest Hornby Thomas the Tank Engine train set. I do hope you enjoyed the video. It is a little bit of something different, so yeah, if you did enjoy it, please don't hesitate to leave a like or even a comment on the video, because I'd love to hear from you. And of course, if you want more videos, feel free to subscribe. But for now, a massive thank you to you all for watching. I really do appreciate it. You can check out my Facebook or Twitter pages if you'd like to, and they're at facebook.com/samstrains or twitter.com/samstrains. It would be great to see you on there, but for now, a massive thank you to everybody for watching, and I'll see you all very soon. Cheers, everybody.